This video discusses the disappearance of a young person. The case is presented in a factual documentary-style format using publicly available information and without speculation. Viewer discretion is advised. In September 2007, a 14-year-old boy left his family home in South Yorkshire and traveled alone to London. He was seen on CCTV arriving at King's Cross Station and then disappeared without a trace. That boy was Andrew Gosden. More than a decade later, his disappearance remains unresolved. This video examines what is known about that day, the investigation that followed, and the questions that still remain. Before discussing the circumstances of his disappearance, it's important to look back at Andrew's early life and what he was like, to better understand the context of the case. Andrew was born on the 10th of July, 1993. Andrew lived with his family in Balby, a suburb of Doncaster, South Yorkshire. Andrew's parents were both committed Anglican Christians but had not baptized their children, as they did not want to impose their views on them. Prior to his disappearance, Andrew had not attended church for 18 months. Andrew had been a Cub Scout, but some months before his disappearance told his father he had become bored with it. Andrew's family described him as a home bird who rarely left the house and never without saying where he was going. Andrew was known to his family as Roo. Andrew was a gifted student with a 100% attendance record at the Macaulay Catholic High School. He was on the Young, Gifted, and Talented program, which was designed to enhance the educational development of high-performing school pupils. Andrew was expected to achieve A's in his GCSE examinations. He was described as a prize-winning mathematician who seemed destined for Cambridge. However, Andrew was described as having a neutral attitude about school, hoping the upcoming school term would provide more of a challenge after having cruised through his education thus far. He was reported as sharing little about his school life to his parents, and never expressed particular thoughts about his future career. Andrew was described as being happy with his own company, but still had his own small group of like-minded friends. However, his family say that Andrew did not socialize with his friends outside of school. Andrew was reported to exhibit no signs of depression, with no indication that he had been subjected to bullying. Andrew was said by his father to be absent-minded, not streetwise, and potentially vulnerable. He was a deep character who did not get worked up or moody. His teachers characterized him as a shy, quiet young man who was mature for his age. During the 2007 school summer holidays, Andrew's parents had suggested that he should travel alone to London to stay with his grandmother, but he chose not to go. At the time of his disappearance, Andrew was 8 days into the new school year after returning from the school holidays. In the days leading up to the disappearance, his parents reported that Andrew twice chose to break his normal routine. He told them he walked home from school rather than taking the school bus. Walking the 4-mile route from school to his home would have taken around 1 hour and 20 minutes. The day before Andrew disappeared at 14:50 p.m. The family ate together as usual and they all washed the dishes afterwards. Andrew spent an hour assembling a jigsaw puzzle on the computer with his father. Andrew then watched some comedy programs on television with his mother. On 14th September 2007, the morning of his disappearance, Andrew had difficulty waking up and seemed irritable. His mother has stated that this was unusual as he was normally awake on time. At 8:05 a.m., Andrew left the house and was witnessed walking across local Westfield Park to his usual bus stop by a family friend. Andrew diverted from his usual route and walked to a cash machine where he withdrew £200 from his bank account. Andrew then returned home for a short time. At home, Andrew placed his uniform in the washing machine and his blazer on the back of his chair. He changed into casual clothes consisting of a black Slipknot t-shirt and black jeans and took a bag embellished with various patches of rock and metal bands. He also took his wallet, keys, and a PlayStation Portable. No other items were taken by Andrew, including his passport. Andrew's father stated that his son did not appear to have taken a sweatshirt or coat with him, and has also not taken the charger for his PlayStation Portable. Andrew also left £100 behind that he had saved from birthdays. At 8:30 a.m., Andrew left the house for the final time and was seen heading down Littlemore Lane towards Westfield Park on the neighbor's CCTV camera. He then walked to Doncaster railway station and purchased a one-way ticket to London, which cost £31.40. The ticket seller told Andrew that a return ticket cost just 50p more, but he insisted on a single ticket. At 9:35 a.m., Andrew boarded the train alone, and it was reported a woman was sat next to Andrew, whom she described as being quiet and engrossed in playing his video game. When Andrew failed to attend morning lessons at his school, his teachers tried to contact his parents. The school inadvertently called the parents of a different child, leaving them a voicemail about Andrew's disappearance. At 11:20, Andrew arrived at King's Cross Station. He was captured on CCTV leaving the main entrance of the station at 11:25. This was the last confirmed sighting of Andrew. That evening, Andrew's family and the same family friend who had seen Andrew in the park that morning sat down for dinner thinking that Andrew was either in the converted cellar playing video games or in his room doing homework. When the family discovered that he was not in the house, they initially thought he could be with a friend or a neighbor and had lost track of time. Andrew's parents phoned his friends, who informed them that Andrew was not there and had not been at school that day. At approximately 7 p.m., the police were called. Andrew's sister stated, "It was just a complete panic. We initially thought something must have happened on the way to school. When we found that he hadn't even been to school, even tried to go to school, that was even more worrying." Andrew's sister and father scouted Andrew's route to school and areas nearby in case he had been involved in an incident, but found nothing. Within 3 hours of discovering Andrew's disappearance, a missing person leaflet was produced for circulation. Andrew's family and friends searched the area until nightfall. That weekend, the police searched the bushes near the family's home in Doncaster, but found nothing. 3 days later, after speaking to the women who had sold Andrew his train ticket, the police confirmed that he had traveled to London. The ticket seller at Doncaster Station remembered Andrew because he had refused a return ticket, despite it only costing 50 pence more than a single. Andrew's father later stated that the purchase of a single ticket rather than a return did not seem strange to him, as Andrew knew numerous people in London with whom he could have stayed. Initial searches in London focused on the Chislehurst and Sidcup areas, where the family had relatives. Days after the disappearance, the family traveled to London and handed out flyers and posters in the vicinity of anywhere they felt Andrew would have had an interest in visiting, especially museums and exhibitions. South Yorkshire Police said they asked British Transport Police to search the CCTV footage within 2 days of Andrew going missing, but British Transport Police could not pick him out from the crowds. 3 weeks later, CCTV footage at King's Cross was again reviewed by British Transport Police and South Yorkshire Police, who identified Andrew. The CCTV image of Andrew leaving the main concourse at King's Cross was circulated in the media, accompanied by a close-up of his right ear, which has a distinctive double ridge. The family and the police investigated the possibility that Andrew had gone to London to meet someone he had met over the internet. However, there was no evidence for this. Andrew did not use a computer at home. His father stated that Andrew did not have an email address and had not set up an online account on either his Xbox or his PSP. The police took the computer from Andrew's school and library but found no trace of any activity by Andrew. Investigators sent the unique serial number of Andrew's PSP to Sony headquarters, who found that there was no record of an account being set up or communication established on the device. Andrew's sister stated that he did not seem interested in social media or connecting with other people, though the internet, as he just didn't seem social. A year after Andrew's disappearance, the head teacher of Andrew's school traveled to London with staff and pupils and distributed 15,000 leaflets. After the initial CCTV trail went cold, the investigation moved on to trying to establish why Andrew had decided to go to London. An early theory put forward by the family that Andrew decided to go sightseeing. Andrew's father started that Andrew could have went to London to attend the 2007 YouTube gathering. However, there is no evidence that Andrew attended this event or had any interest in YouTube. Andrew's family also looked into music concerts that Andrew might have gone to London to attend. The night of his disappearance, 30 Seconds to Mars played the Brixton Academy, and Seki to H played a rescheduled farewell show at the Carling Academy. The venue is within walking distance from King's Cross. The sixth gig was originally scheduled for 4 p.m. on the 7th of July and was to be the last show with the original vocalist, making it a unique event, even though Andrew was a fan of metal bands. There is no evidence that he attended these shows or that he liked these bands. Andrew's father has also stated that he suspected that Andrew might have gone to London to do something for which he felt it was easier to seek forgiveness than ask permission. Speaking in 2009, Andrew's father speculated on the reason for Andrew's disappearance. Did he decide to do the Reginald Perrin thing and reinvent himself? Or was there something troubling him that he felt he couldn't tell us? In my heart, I still think his disappearance was a spur of the moment thing. As with many long running missing person cases, questions have been raised over how the initial investigation into Andrew Gosden's disappearance was handled. In the days and weeks after Andrew went missing, several decisions made by investigators would later come under scrutiny. At the time, police were working with limited information and technology that was far less advanced than it is today. However, some early assumptions and missed opportunities have since been identified as factors that may have hindered the investigation during its crucial early stages. One of the most widely discussed criticisms relates to how the early hours of the investigation were handled. When Andrew Gosden was first reported missing, police initially treated the case as a routine runaway situation rather than a high-risk disappearance. As a result, the response lacked urgency during a crucial early window. Andrew was not immediately classified as missing, which delayed certain investigative steps that are now considered standard in similar cases. Another key criticism involves CCTV footage. Although Andrew was later seen arriving at King's Cross Station, this footage was not reviewed until several weeks after he went missing. By that time, many other CCTV recordings from surrounding areas had already been overwritten, removing potential evidence that could have helped track his movements after arriving in London. There was also criticism surrounding assumptions made early in the investigation. Andrew had purchased a one-way train ticket, which led to the belief that he may have intended to start a new life. This assumption influenced the direction of the inquiry and may have reduced the focus on the possibility that Andrew was vulnerable or in immediate danger. Additionally, Andrew's family later raised concerns about delays in examining his electronic devices. His personal computer was not analyzed for a significant period, and when it was, some data had already been lost. This further limited the amount of information available to investigators. Taken together, these issues have led to ongoing debate about whether earlier decisions and missed opportunities affected the outcome of the case. More than a decade after his disappearance, the case of Andrew Gosden remains unresolved. Despite renewed appeals, advances in technology, and continued public interest, there are still no definitive answers about what happened after he arrived in London that day. For Andrew's family, the absence of certainty continues to shape everyday life. This case is not defined by theories or speculation, but by the lasting impact of unanswered questions and the importance of remembering the young person at the center of it. If there are any cases you believe deserve careful documentary-style coverage, feel free to leave a suggestion in the comments. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay safe out there.